Hail, it's Van. And today I want to talk to you about living imperfectly in an uncertain world. And if you can get to the near the end of the talk, I will actually give you a practice to help you begin really solidifying your foundation. So in 2018, I wrote a book, Imperfect in an Uncertain World. If you don't remember, there was a lot of uncertainty and fear raging across the globe and in the US during that time. Families and communities fractured. And my book really was an attempt to address some of the real internal repercussions of what was occurring externally. To put it another way, why were we feeling so much personal discomfort and dissonance? So, flash forward, it's now 2025. The way in which I was raised is no longer. And looking back, I can see where the US culture had these alt right tendencies for much of my 60 plus years. But I was either unaware or just bought into the illusions. By the time I woke up about 25 years ago, we were thigh high in the muck. So, like many of you, I'm discouraged. Some days I feel really impotent. How can I be the change that Gandhi calls us to be? That's where my book, Imperfect in an Uncertain World, comes in. I'm going to offer a series of blogs and videos with activities that encourage us, you and me, to dig into who we are, to tether to our core, and then to act from that tether. I don't have any answers, but I've got a slew of questions and plenty of suggestions. I'm inviting you to start at the core, your core. How can each of us mine the gold and the shadows and weave them together in ways that have us showing up authentically? It's no doubt about it. We're imperfect and the world is uncertain. While we cannot change life's uncertainties, we can shift how we view that uncertainty and how we can show up in the midst of turmoil. We can see our imperfections as bad, or we can see them as not bad, but once befriended, as the basis of our superpower. Our imperfections power our abilities to act effectively in a chaotic world. So each of us is really being called into a paradigm shift to radically change how we show up in the world. That shift will make us more authentic, more vulnerable, more humble, and much more durable. So let's begin. I'm going to invite you to get into a space where you're comfortable. Move into your core. Find a rhythm in your silence. I'm also going to have these steps available in the comment section, so never fear. In this moment, acknowledge any angst. Let go of as best you can, and then feel the peace begin to well up. Rest in your stillness. And again, these questions are going to be available on my blog and in the comments section, so don't feel like if you don't get it right, there'll be time to go back and reflect on that. And I really will encourage you to reflect on it on your own when you have time. Deep in your core is an imperfection waiting to be heard. Invite your imperfection to make itself known. So listen to what is shimmering up inside of you. In step 1, we're going to identify this imperfection that is calling to you. Now spend some time fleshing it out. Bring it to life. What is this imperfection saying to you? How is it calling you to be? Recall how this character trait or attitude or way of showing up negatively impacted you. Again, really live into it. What were your thoughts, your emotions, any visceral way that you responded, a disconnect to your spiritual life? How is this imperfection causing suffering? So really allow yourself to feel all of the emotions around how this is causing you suffering. As a reminder, this is about you. You don't have to share this with anybody else. It's about connecting to your imperfection in a way that shifts it. Now, identify the challenge in the imperfection. And if you're not quite sure what the challenge or the lesson is, that's okay for now. What's important is that you can name the imperfection. And then ask yourself, what have I learned from this time of reflection? Now, for me, I find it helpful to write it down because it helps me to better understand. And sometimes writing will trigger other knowings or epiphanies for me. So, step 2. Name the imperfection in another. So, I think for me, it's often easier to see the issues with another than with myself. So, what does their imperfection trigger in you? And how did you react when you were triggered? Again, did you have any visceral sensations? What was going on in your mind? What were your emotions regarding that? What did you tell yourself about the other person or the situation? Now identify your challenge with their imperfection, or how were you being called to be in the experience? Okay, so step 3 is going to build upon step 2. So using the experience in step 2, name the imperfection that's being triggered in you. Use the questions in step 1 to help better understand how your imperfection is part of the schism. Not blaming or shaming, but how your response can shift. When you shift from a reaction to a response, you decide what to do with that schism. And in this, come up with one way that you can change. Not the other person, not the situation. You are changing you. So these steps are a practice of better understanding you. Later on, we're going to get into steps that will actually help you impact the external. For now, we're going to focus on you and your healing. You can practice all 3 of these steps together. You can practice step 1 by itself. You can practice steps 2 and 3 together. Do not practice step 2 by itself. It will only add to triggering your own imperfections and widening the schism. I consider this practice to be a foundational one. I'll offer practices that will help you strengthen that foundation from which all your thoughts and actions and words are triggered. So that's it for now. Practice that. I will ask you, are you on the ultimate quest, living into a stronger, more durable relationship with your sacred in ways that make a difference in your world? I'm available for spiritual companioning. Schedule your get-to-know chat with me. But whatever you do today, love your imperfections because they make you who you are. Have a terrific day.